If you work in quality control at a candy factory, you know strict safety regulations come with the job. It's why you partner with Grainger. Grainger helps you find the high-quality and compliant products your business needs to inspect, detect, and help correct issues. And the sweetest part is, everyone gets a product that's as safe to eat as it is delicious. Call 1-800-GRAINGER, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
Looking for excitement? Chumba Casino is here. Play anytime, play anywhere. Play on the train, play at the store, play at home, play when you're bored. Play today for your chance to win and get daily bonuses when you log in. So what are you waiting for? Don't delay. Chumba Casino is free to play.
Experience social gameplay like never before. Go to Chumba Casino right now to play hundreds of games, including online slots, bingo, Slingo, and more. Live the Chumba life at ChumbaCasino.com.
No purchase necessary. VGW Group. Void where prohibited by law. 21 plus. Terms and conditions apply.
Hey everyone, and welcome back to Exposed. Scandalous Files of the Elite. I am your host, Jim Chapman, and we are back with this part 4 of the Micah Miller case as part of our Exposed Investigate series. And the last time that I left you, people were starting to speak out about J.P. Miller and his relationships that he had during his marriage to Micah Miller, allegedly. So I'm going to pick up on May 28th of 2024, and this is a month after the death of Micah Miller, and a bombshell hits when his ex-wife, Allison Williams, amends the custody filing originally filed way back in 2015, because by this point, she's seeking full custody of the kids. Totally understandable after everything that transpired. And when these records are filed, they become public again. And wow, did the shit hit the fan for J.P. Miller. So I'm going to cover this for you now. The document was filed in Horry County, South Carolina. And it reads, "My name is Allison Williams, and I am the plaintiff in this action. I was formerly married to the defendant, John Paul Miller, for approximately 16 years prior to our divorce in 2016. During our marriage, we had 4 children, 2 of whom are now emancipated. Since the filing of our final order on October 30th, 2015, there has been a substantial change in the circumstance that warrants modification of our prior final order, as fully set forth in my verified complaint. I am providing this affidavit in support of my verified motion for an ex parte order and expedited temporary hearing. I have a ton of evidence to support the concerns and allegations contained in my verified complaint motion. However, until such time as proper safety measures are in place, I am strictly limiting the amount of information shared in this affidavit and provided to the court." So this lady is already concerned about her safety. The affidavit should read in conjunction with the affidavit I previously filed with court to allow a full understanding of the facts and circumstances surrounding my marriage and subsequent divorce from the defendant. In 2015, JP was the pastor of Solid Rock Ministries, and I served as his assistant to pastoral duties. We separated after I learned JP was having an adulterous affair with our former nanny, Micah Miller, who joined our church at the age of 15 and was married to JP's best friend, who was also on our church staff and serving as our church worship leader. At the time of the affair, JP told me in addition to his affair with Mica, he had employed prostitutes and had been sexually inappropriate with several underage female members of our church. He blamed his immoral sexual behaviors on the sexual abuse he experienced for years by his father, Wayne Miller. The church requested that JP enroll in an extensive sexual addiction program. However, despite him promising me that he would, to my knowledge, that never happened. The affair between JP and Mica tore our personal and our church family apart and caused an unimaginable amount of pain and discords in the lives of so many innocent people who truly trusted and believed in JP. At the time the church learned about JP's affair with Mica, the church was operating under the belief the old bylaws of our church had been amended and that we were operating under new bylaws. JP represented that had been put in place regarding the church's financial expenditures, a board of counsel. When the council voted to have JP temporarily step down from the head pastor position so that he could seek treatment for his self-reported sexual addictions and focus on his restoration, instead of following the direction of our church leaders, JP held a meeting and informed the council the new bylaws were invalid, and therefore, pursuant to the old bylaws, he had 100% decision-making authority. This was the first time members of our church had an opportunity to see JP for who he really was and became gravely concerned about his integrity and the financial structure of the church. As a result, almost our entire congregation left the church, and JP began his quest to recruit new members and operate Solid Rock Ministry solely at his direction. After JP informed me that he had been inappropriate with minor female members of our church and disclosed to me the identity of these girls, I immediately contacted them to encourage them to come forward. Although they each shared with me detailed accounts of what JP did to them, they were too scared to make a police report or testify in court. When I learned they were too fearful to report JP, I went to the police department for the purpose of making a report and requesting an investigation. However, I was in essence told by police officials that nobody would believe me because JP was a well-known pastor and we were in the middle of a divorce. Without the testimony of the victims, there was little else I could do to prove what JP had done and ensure he was held accountable. I began to realize the power JP seemed to have over leaders and officials in our community. And based upon having limited proof, there was no way for me to ensure JP was held accountable and prevented from continuing to victimize innocent people. Given the circumstances, I decided the best way for me to protect our children was to reach an agreement with JP that contained terms I believed would ensure their safety and encourage them to seek treatment. To that end, JP had periodic periods of visitation with our children. However, we agreed JP's visitation with our daughter would be restricted to solely daytime periods of visitation. Following my divorce from JP, he married Micah Miller. Prior to my knowledge of JP's sexual relationship with Mica during our marriage, both she and her husband at the time, Jeremy, became very close to our family. Mica did not have a close relationship with her mother, and to some degree, I took her under my wing as an older daughter. I taught her to drive, I took her to get her driver's license, and allowed for her to care for our children. She shared family meal times together at our home. I provided her guidance and advice, and she began working in the church. Despite the initial destruction caused by JP's infidelity for several years, there was a part of me that was relieved to know Mica would be present in the home when JP had periods of visitation with our children, and I viewed her as a safety net for my children. Although our children continued to struggle with anger and disappointment they felt toward their father, often refusing to share visitation periods with him for a couple of years, things appeared to be not quite as tumultuous. In 2021/2022, things gradually began to change to the detriment of our children and have escalated to the severity of where things are today. JP and Mica began having severe marital difficulties, and our children were placed directly in the middle of this discord. JP would preach sermons on the Sundays our children were with him and present in the congregation, disparaging Mica and indicating she had mental health issues, and eventually putting her in a mental hospital. The children were subjected to JP calling Mica crazy one day, and then her being back in the home at their next visit with their father, assuring them she was fine. They never knew what to expect, and the intense unpredictability and marital discord between JP and Mica negatively impacted them all. On one occasion, while picking up our daughter, I observed holes in their walls, hinges off the doors, and pieces of paper taped to the wall with negative affirmations about Mica. JP told me and our children that Mica was delusional and speaking different languages and seeing things that were not there. JP agreed it was not safe for our children to be in his home, and for periods at my request did not insist that they stay with him overnight. He would pick them up from school and bring them home after taking them to dinner. JP began spending more time with Susie, who was the mother of one of the boys that played on our son's soccer team. JP began using our son to facilitate times he could spend with Susie, which our children were well aware of. Their friends talked about it, and it caused them a tremendous amount of embarrassment. When I learned JP was exposing our children to yet another one of his adulterous affairs, I confronted JP and Susie and told them to not let it happen again. JP called me the day that Susie's husband died in an alleged drowning accident, extremely upset and asking me to pray, which was extremely bizarre. Based upon information and belief, just 2 weeks prior to this incident, Susie's husband had confronted JP and asked him to leave his wife and children alone. It is chilling to know that the spouses of both Susie and JP are now dead from tragic events. It was around this time that JP's mental health seemed to really be spiraling out of control, and he began acting even more bizarre. He informed me that he was getting into buying guns and shooting, and had purchased a gun safe for his home. As a convicted felon, he is not allowed to have weapons. However, he managed to get a police chief from the church to assist with expunging his record. Further, he was given a special police badge that says pastor to utilize if he ever gets pulled over, so they will let him go.
Hello, it is Ryan, and we could all use an extra bright spot in our day, couldn't we? Just to make up for things like sitting in traffic, doing the dishes, counting your steps, all the mundane stuff. That is why I'm such a big fan of Chumba Casino. Chumba Casino has all your favorite social casino-style games that you can play for free anytime, anywhere with daily bonuses. That should brighten your day a little. Actually, a lot. So sign up now at ChumbaCasino.com. That's ChumbaCasino.com.
No purchase necessary. VGW Group. Void where prohibited by law. See terms and conditions. 18+.
With the constant discord between JP and Mica and JP's own self-reported mental health struggles, the thought of JP having access to guns in his home terrified me for the safety of our children. It was about this time that JP began declining to pick our children up for visitation, informing me that his mental health was not, quote, well enough for him to share time with them. Of course, given the circumstances, I would have refused to let them go. However, having it be JP's idea made it far easier and safer and prevented the necessity of filing a legal action with the court. One evening, JP informed me that Mica had a breakdown and was on her way to my house and requested me to hold her when she arrived because he had the police coming. It was my understanding that Mica was trying to get away from JP because he was trying to have her committed again. Our children were at home, and once again, subjected to severe discord. Mica began calling me for advice on how to free herself from JP and for guidance as to counselors and people to assist her. I prayed with Mica and did all I could to provide her with sound advice and guidance. Mica shared her information with me about the things my children were exposed to while in the care of JP and warned me that my children were in danger while in his care. I have several recordings and text messages that verify this information, and it caused me a tremendous concern about the safety and welfare of our children while in the care of JP, especially now that Mica is no longer present. I was married to JP for 16 years. Although my story and what I lived through with JP is different in some ways, many of the details shared with me by Mica are so similar to my own experiences with JP that I know she was being truthful. Based upon information and belief, JP's mental health and deviant sexual addictions have only worsened since the time that we were married, and I do not believe our children are safe in his care. Since Mica's death, I have requested that JP not see our children. Initially, I was okay with phone calls and text messages. However, when recently texting with them, JP had inappropriately discussed the current state of offense with them, sharing his plans of, quote, suing everyone and being a millionaire. Our children did not need to be subjected to any discussion about our current situation, as I am doing all I can to prevent them from being exposed to the massive social media and national coverage. For their privacy and protection, I have refrained from making any public statements or comments. Our children are highly upset and do not wish to have contact with their father, which, at this time, I strongly believe is in their best interest. My goal is not to keep our children from their father permanently, but until such time as he can undergo adequate psychological testing, following all recommendations to ensure his mental stability and assure contact with their father is in their best interest. Currently, JP is being threatened and followed on social media by people from all around the world. Placing our children in that situation and subjecting them to the social media coverage or involvement is simply not in their best interest, and it is signed Allison Williams, again, JP Miller's ex-wife. Now, what made this so damning, aside from what you just heard from his ex-wife regarding messing around with underage kids and things of that nature, is she brought the receipts, and I mean she brought them. So she submits what's known as an evidentiary packet called an exhibit list to support her filings, and we're going to go through that now, and I'll be referring to a lot of text messages back and forth between several people, and I'll make it clear as we go along. So the first exhibit she presents is text messages from Micah Miller's mother to Allison, the ex-wife, right? And in this text, it says, Allie, I'm begging you as one mother to another. Please talk to me. I love you. I pray for you often. Please call me. I promise no one will know that we spoke. I'm concerned for the safety of my daughter. And of course, that's Micah Miller's mother. Then there's some text between Mica, JP, and Allison. And it starts off, Allison texts John Paul and Mica in this group text, and she says, did you tell, and it's redacted, so it's one of their kids, that she can go on trips with you when she turns 13? John Paul says, what we hope for and what we pray for is that there will be a heart change, seeing as I have never nor will ever hurt one of my kids or put them in any situation that would hurt them. You can continue to say no, and you can continue to think the way you do, but we can continue to pray and hope. We didn't ask you, so there's no need to discuss it. But one day, if or when we do.
Hello, it is Ryan, and we could all use an extra bright spot in our day, couldn't we? Just to make up for things like sitting in traffic, doing the dishes, counting your steps, you know, all the mundane stuff. That is why I'm such a big fan of Chumba Casino. Chumba Casino has all your favorite social casino-style games that you can play for free anytime, anywhere with daily bonuses. That should brighten your day a little. Actually, a lot. So sign up now at ChumbaCasino.com. That's ChumbaCasino.com.
No purchase necessary. VGW Group. Void where prohibited by law. See terms and conditions. 18+.
We would love to discuss it. And Allison responds back and she says She misses out on vacations and such. Maybe you should take ownership and responsibility for your actions, present, past, and own it. Say it's your fault and move forward. If you need or Micah want to discuss this more, let's sit down and talk about it. John Paul responds. He says, this has nothing to do with my own child. The fact that redacted is with me all the time from morning until night. There's no difference between night to morning. She is with her dad. The time of day has no bearing. But you can do as you want. It is evil to remotely make a child think that their parent would ever in a million years hurt them. And Allison responds back, says, I don't. I tell her the truth, why you legally have lost privileges. John Paul responds back, the truth isn't that I lost the privilege because of legal mistakes. I don't have the privilege because I signed a paper that you had me sign. But you allowed redacted to stay the night for a while, and you can always allow it if you want to, because there's no difference in redacted with me in the night, afternoon, morning, etc. But again, it's your decision per legal papers. And Allison responds back, we can sit down and discuss this more in person. I can show you why legal papers were signed. It was to avoid presenting affidavits from minors you've molested. And JP responds back with just, okay, thank you. And then Micah responds. Remember, this is a group text. Put simply, redacted started choosing where he wanted to go at 13. So we assumed redacted would have that choice as well. Didn't think the gender was an issue since we get redacted on a regular basis with no fear of anything happening to her. Didn't mean to make a big fuss and bring up 20-year-old issues. Allison responds back to Micah, who says there's no fear. This is not a 20-year-old issue. Do you think those victims of his would say it's a 20-year-old issue? Also, JP still displays continued poor character and puts our children in harmful situations. Paying redacted to take me to lunch to ask me if he leaves you and the church, would I ever remarry him, and being unfaithful to you and putting my child up to be a middleman is a horrible situation to put my child in. Getting a job for and at a location where their boss was one of his mistresses is a horrible situation to put my children in, especially since she had told a teenage coworker she slept with her pastor before her wedding. What you're doing is selfish and harmful and has no consideration on how it could affect my children at all. They have already been put through enough by him, and honestly, you too. He has shown his interest and scheme in hand are most important by doing those things. This continued lack of character is harmful for all involved, and I will not hide it or pretend all is well when a finger gets pointed at me as though this is a possible misunderstanding. And then John Paul responds back and says, okay, thanks. And Micah responds back, no one is pointing a finger at you saying John Paul's actions are your fault. However, what you've heard about it is not true. I've done my due diligence. As far as redacted, I am finally aware of her transgressions. And then she puts in parentheses, kiss pics, and John Paul's lack of guts to get rid of her sooner. I hope this won't affect your opinion of her children. So there's some pretty good receipts where JP never denied any of the accusations you just heard in those text messages. Then it goes to another exhibit. It says, text message from defendant to plaintiff informing her that a hole she saw in the door was done by Micah. JP text Allison. He says, by the way, the hole in the bedroom door was Micah, and I have a video of her doing it. So don't worry, I'm not an angry person. In another exhibit, text message from the cell phone of party's minor child to Micah Miller that were actually from the defendant, evidencing how the defendant put children in the middle of his marital affairs. Note, the minor children did not write these text messages. They were done by the defendant acting as though he were the minor child to attempt to persuade Micah to come home. So she managed to get her hands on text where he was pretending to be one of the kids trying to get Micah to come back home when she left JP. So here's JP pretending to be the child. Hey, it's redacted. When are you coming home? Dad just cries and prays real loud. Micah, I wish I could come home.
Hello, it is Ryan, and we could all use an extra bright spot in our day, couldn't we? Just to make up for things like sitting in traffic, doing the dishes, counting your steps, all the mundane stuff. That is why I'm such a big fan of Chumba Casino. Chumba Casino has all your favorite social casino-style games that you can play for free anytime, anywhere with daily bonuses. That should brighten your day a little. Actually, a lot. So sign up now at ChumbaCasino.com. That's ChumbaCasino.com.
No purchase necessary. VGW Group. Void where prohibited by law. See terms and conditions. 18+.
And we're just going to say JP because that's really who it is, allegedly. JP, Dad says you can come anytime. I told him I'm asking you about lashes. Micah, he says different things to me. I miss you guys very much. I cry too. JP, he said he's sorry and it's your birthday. Micah, yep, I'm 30. Just got my toes done at Daisy. Life is going to move on, but it will be really weird for a bit. JP, so you're not coming home ever? What can I tell Dad to do so you can come home? Micah, thank you for your prayers. Inside, I know he knows what is right, but we have to make choices that line up with that. You're really smart and kind and pretty like your mom. I'll miss you. JP, Mom says boys are dumb, but I know Dad loves you a lot. I've never seen him cry so much. If he asks you, we talked about lashes. I have to delete this. Micah, I understand. JP, I'm praying too without Dad that you will come home. He's crying so loud right now. Can you talk to him, please? I promise you he loves you. He has your pictures all over the house. He won't do anything with us. He just keeps crying. And he's sitting here trying to play her, right? Micah, last time I tried to come home and be peaceful, he called the cops and said I was trying to break in after he was the one that asked me to come. My hands are tied. He would not even let me in. JP, can I ask him? He has done dumb things, but all he does is ask God to bring you home. He doesn't even get out of the bed. He just cries. I really liked you being with my dad. Micah, I know it's really hard on you and I don't want to stay away, but he has already filled out the paperwork. Didn't even file anything. He is leaving me and trying to make it seem like I left him. I don't think it's healthy for you to get involved because it's a lot for anyone to process. Keep praying, and if you have any questions, tell your mom and I'll talk to her. JP, so you're not coming home ever? What can I tell Dad so you can come home? And then Micah sends crying faces and says it's gone too far. Now, just a week later, another blast for JP as a judge rules, and in my opinion, rightfully so, that Micah Miller's belongings could be released to her family. And he had to be brought to court, and an agreement was finally reached, and he turned those belongings over to Micah Miller's family attorney. So the pressure's mounting, right, for JP Miller by this point. And eventually he's got to speak to the media. And guess what? He does that. And I'm going to play that for you today in its entirety. His first full interview since all this happened of any sort of length. This is JP speaking to News Nation.
You and I have been talking since this happened, basically, communicating over text. Why now? Why the decision to speak now after all this time has passed? Where's your head at?
Well, I think part of it is I finally got the approval of my attorneys to do so. They, the ones working on the defamation cases, they said it's easier to win a defamation case the more the people talk. And so they've been collecting a lot of evidence over the past while. And also I think that now that some of the emotion has died down in the world and with people that are led by their feelings, I think now they deserve to hear some logic and some truth and make their own assessment. So.
Do you miss her?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Did you see this coming?
Yes, but it doesn't change at all the power of the pain of reality. I saw it coming for years. I told them for years this would happen over, and I said if she gets off her medicine, suicide is the next thing. She tried it in the past, but with me, she always remained okay with me. She was on her meds with me. She was healthy and happy. And even if she did get low or stop taking her medicine, I would help her get back on it, and things would be fine. Without me and with her family, she's off meds, and she committed suicide. And I told them this would happen over and over again. I tried my best to stop her from getting a gun. I went to judges. I have copies of all the police. I talked to her counselor, the pastor she was going to, her family, her friends. I told them all, don't let her get a gun. Do whatever it takes, prevent her from getting a gun. And when she was with me, she was never able to go that far. But with them, that's exactly what happened, and it destroyed me. And I still haven't really grasped it. Like, it hasn't. I kind of keep putting off the reality of it, and I try not to think about it as much as I can.
What was going on in your marriage the week Micah died?
The week she died, we didn't talk that entire week. I'd emailed her several times that week, and my regular emails are sending her letters telling her that I love her. And she came over to the house. The last time I saw her was a few weeks before she passed away. We spent about 4 hours together, and we hugged and kissed, and she was in and out of psychotic conversations. She would say, one thing about double agents that are following her. That was one of the phrases she would use when she was off her meds, double agents. And the other phrase she would say, she wants to come home so bad, but her family won't let her. She told me she wanted to live in Africa and asked me if I'd live with her. I said, sure, if you take your medicine, And so she told me if I'd give her some money and if I would write her a letter saying certain things in this letter, that she would take her medicine. And so I tried that, and but she desperately wanted to come home. She was just so afraid her family would disown her. And so the week before she passed away, I probably emailed her maybe 7 or 8 times that week, just saying, I love you. You need your lithium. Don't forget who you are when you're on medicine versus who you are when you're off. She had lost 40 pounds in a month, and nobody that was in her life thought to take care of her. Nobody. She was living with a former registered nurse. Her family, quote unquote, were taking care of her. She lost 40 pounds in 1 month, and no one thought she needed help. She was talking about living in Africa. No one thought she needed help. She's making videos on Facebook, and if you see the videos, you know it's not her, because she has a different cadence, a different tone, a different amount of words per minute when she's healthy and on medicine than when she's off. And the way she was even looking into space when she's taking those videos, you knew she was delusional. And if somebody loved her enough to take her to a professional and say, okay, this woman says she's being abused, or this woman says, this, or she's lost 40 pounds in a month. If someone thought, I need to take her to a professional, that professional would have known that she needed medicine. And the reason I know that's true is because I took her a few weeks before she passed away. I took her to probate court. And in 3 minutes time, she went in, she walked back out. When I went in, they said, your wife is mentally ill and she needs medicine desperately. And I said, okay, let's do it. Let's get her the medicine. Let's get her help. And they said, she's not a danger to anybody in society, so we can't force her to do it. But if one of her family members or friends had taken note of the way she was acting and seen what was happening to her physically and taken her to just one professional, they could have saved her life.
Where were you when Micah died?
It was on a Saturday. I was in Charleston with about 100 people from my kids' school.
What was it?
Oh, soccer. It was a soccer tournament.
Okay, so we know, I've gone through Micah's last day, pretty much almost down to the minute. Bring us through your last day? You said soccer. Do you have any documentation that they were there?
Oh, you're asking because, okay, I got you. Yeah, of course. Yeah, I can't believe people. Oh, my Lord. So, yeah, I was with about 100 people. We had dinner that night. We were all together at the soccer fields that day. Afterwards, after the soccer game, somebody was with me the entire time, who I can't name due to legal purposes, but I will say it's somebody that I love more than anything else on planet Earth.
Man or woman?
Young person that I cannot name due to legal purposes, but somebody that I am responsible for and love very, very much. And that person was with me, and we went shopping in Charleston, and we got food in Charleston, and there's all the receipts from that throughout the time. I think we might have gotten gas too, and then made it back to Myrtle Beach. And I was just actually looking today at emails that I sent her that day. I sent her 4 emails that day, and I just noticed today that 2 of those she wasn't able to read because it was after it had happened.
What do you think happened that day?
So according to what she's tried to do in the past, and according to her doctors who have taken care of her for years, and according to me who's seen it over and over again, I imagine that she was in an incredibly euphoric attitude. I saw her pictures on the Dick's Pawn Shop. Someone sent me screenshots of the Dick's Pawn Shop pictures where she's smiling, which out of the 6 or 7 times that she tried to commit suicide in the past, only one of those times was she depressed. The other times she was very euphoric. And she would wake up and say, I think I'm supposed to die today. And I said, no, honey, you're not going to do that. She said, well, my mind tells me that I'm supposed to kill myself. I said, we're not going to listen to your mind. We're going to take you to a doctor and get you help. And I discovered, of course, that she had stopped taking her meds each time. But either way, she was in a euphoric attitude. And so you see the Dick's Pawn Shop video where she's wearing her work clothes and with a smile on her face. So they sold her a weapon, and then I assumed that she drove. She told one of her best friends. So far, the 4 people she spent the most time with every week, no one's interviewed or talked to those 4 people. And one of those people that I talked to told me that she told her 2 years ago, if I ever commit suicide, I'm going to go to this place in Lumberton, the state park or something like that.
Which friend is that?
I probably wouldn't want to name her because I saw this friend one time here in public for 30 seconds. And of course, Robbie S. Harvey, as usual, got somebody to take a picture and destroyed the girl's life, brought up her past and horrible things about her. So people are scared to tell the truth or to talk about the good things of Mica because of the social media.
So this friend says that Mica told her, if I'm going to take my life, I will probably do it in Lumberton River State Park.
She told me that after Mica passed away, but she told me that Mica told her that 2 years ago, yeah.
Did she say why? Why that location?
She said because Mica told her it was peaceful and outdoors. And Mica did love the outdoors, loved the outdoors. Vacations were outdoory vacations because that's what she loved. But
Has she ever been there?
No, not that I know of. Not ever that I know of.
Do you guys have any connection to that area?
Not at all.
Have you ever been there?
Nope. I've never even heard of the place. I never even heard of, what's the city? Robinson County. I've never even heard of there before.
So did it strike you as, before you heard this, did it strike you as odd when you heard that where she went and what they say allegedly happened? Did you question it at all?
Well, I didn't think it was real. I thought her family had made it up and had somebody call me and say that. So that's one big thing. I didn't think it was real. When I found out it was real, you know how like you tell somebody something, you tell them. Then when it happens, you don't want to say, I told you so, because it's a horrible thing. That's what I felt like. I felt like I told y'all, like I told her family this so many times you can't imagine. I told her friends this. I told everybody. I said, if y'all don't get her lithium, she's going to commit suicide. Her doctor told her this on paperwork where her doctor said this. And then when I get the call, here's what I felt like. I felt like the world's biggest failure because I spent the past 3 months when her family got her out of the hospital and didn't bring her home, and her dad talked her into buying him a car, and all this stuff was happening that was all crazy. I made a vow that I was going to do something every single day to try to get her back on her lithium and save her life. And so every day I did something. Sometimes I did 4, 5, 6, 7 things. Some days it's just one thing. But every day, whether it was an email, a text, visit someone, talk to a family member, talk to a friend, go somewhere, go to a judge, go to probate, I'm going to do something to save her life. And I spent every single day for those 3 months doing that. So getting that phone call made me feel like the world's greatest failure. I was against the whole world because everyone told me that it wasn't true and that I was making it up and that whatever they were saying. So it was me against the world for 3 months, and I failed.
What was the call, and who was the call from, and what did they say?
Man, it was a man. I got a call, and it was I think it was a detective. And I remember him being very calm and very nonchalant. And so that's why I thought, well, this is not real. And so I started screaming. I had a family member that was there with me. I started screaming for them to use their phone to call the hospital where the guy said she was at. And my family member called the hospital and said it was real. And I still didn't believe it. And so I called a police chief that I know somewhere around here, Chapman or somebody. And I said, there's a detective named such and such on the phone telling me these things. Like, is this real? Is this a real person or not? And that person told me that it was real as well. And I just remember screaming really loud and throwing up everywhere. And
what did they tell you?
I remember throwing up. Did I have spaghetti that day? It was a lot of throw up. It was something red. I'm sorry?
What did they tell you?
I don't remember that. Oh, no, I don't remember that. Hold on. I don't remember. He said, my family member called the hospital and spoke to, I think, either the head nurse or medical examiner or somebody. And that lady read me stuff that the Robinson County, I guess, had wrote on a piece of paper. And she was reading me suicide and the weapon and where it was at and all these different facts. And so then because the detective would not tell me it was suicide. And then I called him back and told him what the hospital told me, and he was pissed off and asked me who that lady's name was, and I didn't know her name. And if I did know, I wasn't going to tell him anyway, because I'm glad she told me anyway. And so, and I said, is this stuff true? And I can't remember if he said yes or just hung up. I don't remember.
Do you remember what he said, though?
Oh, man, I don't remember at all. If I try to enunciate it, I'll probably be making something up based on all the crashing of everything going on. So I can't tell you for sure.
Did you ever question the findings that the authorities gave to you that this was suicide?
No. I mean, I'm not a detective. I watched Scooby-Doo growing up, but that's what everybody seems to be acting like, is they're, part of the mystery machine. But my Lord, like, let my wife, let her be at peace. Like, she's in heaven. She's not worrying about all this stuff. Let her rest. Let her memory rest. She had suicidal tendencies over and over, year after year, off medication especially. She went to Dick's Pawn Shop before, purchased a weapon, and tried to do the same thing. She drove out in the middle of nowhere. She called 911, left a voice message. I don't really understand what else could be. But you know what? I'm not a professional, so I don't know.
In other words, it all added up to you. It made sense to you.
I mean, I'm not a detective. If she had heart surgery, I'm not going to question the heart surgeon. I don't know anything about detective work at all.
Right, but it's your wife. I mean, and them telling you her life has ended.
Are you trying to ask me if I think somebody murdered her?
Do you think anybody murdered her?
No!
One of the things that raised eyebrows initially for the public was when you gave a sermon here and you announced publicly that she had committed suicide. And you attributed it to her mental health. Why do you feel the need to come out with that at that moment?
That's a great question. So first, let's discuss why I preached that morning. Is that okay? Okay, so people have been asking that. So have you ever taken any psychology classes or anything like that?
Very few.
Okay, yeah, I haven't taken any. So I would love to find a book or a psychology professor or someone that could tell me the correct response when you spend 7 years trying to keep someone alive by just taking a few pills that their family tells them not to take. Then when they don't take it, they go into a hospital, their family takes them out, and then you spend 3 months trying to get them help when their family's telling them that you're evil and the bad person, and then it finally happens, the thing that you've been dreading for 7 years, and you're trying to prevent for 7 years, then it happens. I don't know what the correct response is, right? Am I supposed to stay home and cry? Am I supposed to go out with my friends? Am I supposed to go to a bar and drink? I don't know what the right thing is, right? As a pastor, should I just get on my knees and pray? I mean, I want to die in that moment. And so the next morning, I remember thinking, okay, if I stay home, I'm probably going to kill myself. I'm probably going to just go to heaven and be with her and be done. Because I need to be around people, but I don't want to be around people and come to church if I'm not going to preach, because then I'll be judging the guy that's preaching the whole time, and I can preach just as easy as I can breathe. So I'm just going to go in the mode of what I'm normally going to do and just continue my life normally until I finally have to deal with what's going on. And so I didn't know what else to do. I didn't know the right response. I wish somebody had told me, in hindsight, if I go back in time, I probably would have done the same thing and still preached. And then at the end, and the sermon was about leaving your legacy and the people you leave on earth and your memory that's being left. So I thought maybe that's God. Then I thought, you know what, Micah would want me to preach. That's exactly what she'd want me to do. She'd be telling me to do it. She'd be trying to force me to do it. So I preached. And then at the end of the sermon, when I made the announcement was made. And of course, I'm not in a clear thinking frame of mind. I mean, it's like, it's not like I'm, kumbaya and got it all together. I said what I said because I didn't want them to think that it was because she's a bad person, or I wanted them to know, like, if Micah does anything that's out of character, it's because of her mental illness. It's not because of her. Like, she's a wonderful woman, full of integrity. When she's on her medicine, she's black and white, does the right thing, does not like the wrong thing being done. Off medication, she's a totally different person, and I didn't want them to see her as someone that was bad. I wanted them to know it's just a sickness, like if you have heart disease or if you have, diabetes or whatever, mental illness, you need medicine to continue going forward. And so that's why I said that.
Also, something I found interesting in that moment, you said, before I tell you this news, I'm going to paraphrase here, I'm going to tell you this news, and I want you to leave. I don't want you to stand up and talk about it. Why?
That's a great question, and that was actually intentional, because the last thing I wanted to hear was people talking about my wife. I wanted them to go and take it to Jesus before they start, doing what some Christians like to do and just chatter, and I didn't want to experience the extra pain. I didn't want to be mad at somebody in my church because I heard them say, well, I'm not even going to guess at what somebody could have said, but I didn't want anybody to say anything negative about my wife.
Another point of concern, let's say, for people watching, was when you gave a eulogy. It was something concerning. People said that was concerning that you said that you tried to raise Micah from the dead. And I believe at another point you said you laid next to her body in the morgue. Is that true?
I didn't lay next to her body. I mean, I couldn't. You can't lay next to her because her body's up on this thing. But I mean, I hugged her, and I sat on the floor, next to her and just talked to her for a while. But yeah, I tried raising her from the dead, because you know what? If it had worked, we'd have a whole different story. But God forbid me not try it, and always wonder the rest of my life, would it have worked? Right? Jesus did it. Elisha did it. There's a few other people in the Bible, and so yes, if somebody I love more than anything in the world has passed away, what I believe to be an early death, you better believe I'm going to try to, in Jesus' name, raise them from the dead. I believe in healing. I believe in miracles. I believe in the raising of the dead. I'm a one God, apostolic, tongue-talking, holy rolling, born-again, heaven-bound believer in the liberated power of Jesus' name. I'm not ashamed of it.
Would you characterize your relationship with Micah as healthy?
Oh, man. When she was on her medicine, we had the greatest marriage you could ever imagine. We spent every day together. I don't know any other couple that spends every day. So we wake up, well, she'd kind of wake up before me, but, we'd go work out together every day, 5 days a week. We'd eat lunch together every day. We would work together every day. We'd pick up the kids, do stuff with the kids every day. We'd go to dinner every night together. Then every night we would have our routine. So there's 3 things we would do. We would either sit in the bathtub together for 2 hours until the water went from steaming hot to ice cold. She bought this big air mattress we'd put in the back of the truck, and we'd go park somewhere here in Myrtle Beach where there's no lights, and she'd bring us some hot chocolate, and we'd lay on the air mattress for 2 hours. Or we would go out on the beach with our beach blanket and lay there for 2 hours. But the point was, no cell phones, just her and I. She would talk 90% of the time. I would talk 10% of the time, and I would just listen. And so every night, 2 hours, we'd hang out together. And so was our marriage healthy? It's probably as healthy as any other American marriage.
Have you ever abused your wife?
Never, not once in any way, shape, or form. I took better care of her than anybody could ever take care of her. I never asked her to clean the house, not once in 7 years of marriage. She never had to cook a single meal. She never had to work. She was never harmed physically in any way.
In a letter or in an email you wrote to Micah, you apologized,
yes.
Right? You apologized for tracking her, for messing with her tires, for posting the picture. So that's all true, right?
So great question. I'm so glad you asked that, actually. If I wanted to lie about that, I would just say I never wrote the letter, right? Because how can you prove that I wrote somebody a letter? There's no signature, there's no name, it's not in my handwriting. But I 100% wrote the letter. And I did it because the night that she was with me, the last night we were together for 4 hours, at one point, because the whole 4 hours I'm trying to get her to take her medicine. And then she's saying, my family doesn't want me to, they don't want me to come inside the house. Maybe it's your house, come inside. So finally we get to the point, she says, you know what, I'll take my medicine and I'll come home if you'll give me $10,000 and if you'll write me an apology letter.
So let me understand this correctly. The letter, the email that you wrote to Mica, apologizing for hiring a PI, tracking her, messing with her tires, and posting a topless photo of her. You wrote that, you say,
yes,
but
sir.
Now you're saying that you didn't actually do these things.
I did the PI thing, but so over the years what I've learned with her is when she's in a delusional state of mind, I have to play into it in order to get her back on medicine. So the first year or two when she'd say something, I'd say, that's not true, that's not real. She'd get mad and blow up and, knock a hole in the wall or something like that. So then by December 2019, I think it was, we were watching TV and she just stopped and said, you're a double agent. And I said, no, I'm not. She says, yes, you are. She said, and I'm going to call the police. She said, you're a double agent, you've stolen my things, and I'm going to put you in jail. And I was like, oh my goodness, what do I do? She hadn't been taking her medicine.
So just to be clear, you wrote this to Mica, but now you're saying you didn't do those things.
No, I did not slash the tire. I did not. I don't think there's a naked picture of her anywhere, ever. Anyway, I think that was just a made-up thing. And I think that her tire just got something ran over, from what I understand. I don't know. I didn't see anything. But I did hire the PI before. I did everything I could to stop her from getting a weapon. Everything you could imagine. I hired a private eye, and I said, put a tracker on her car, and if she gets anywhere near a gun store, please let me know. I did everything I could think of. And
did that private eye alert you that day?
No, I had stopped paying for it about 4 weeks beforehand. Yeah.
Why?
Running out of money and people telling me that she was totally fine and I'm wasting my time.
So what do you say to the doubters and critics who say you drove her to suicide?
That's the dumbest thing I ever heard. So wait, she wasn't with me. Because listen, with me, she didn't commit suicide. Apart from me for 3 months and with her family, she did commit suicide. One of the last things she showed me a book she's reading called I Love Jesus, But I Want to Die. And I said, why do you want to die? She said, because I can't come home because my family won't let me. That's what I say to them.
Ryan Seacrest here. When you have a busy schedule, it's important to maximize your downtime. One of the best ways to do that is by going to ChumbaCasino.com. Chumba Casino has all your favorite social casino games like spin slots, bingo, and solitaire that you can play for free for a chance to redeem some serious prizes. So hop on to ChumbaCasino.com now and live the Chumba life. Sponsored by Chumba Casino.
No purchase necessary. VGW Group. Void where prohibited by law. 21 plus. Terms and conditions apply.
I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry.
You need a minute?
Oh, man. Oh, man.
What's tripping you up?
Just being able to tell. Just being able to talk about everything. It feels like that people don't care to hear the truth. They just want to go off of feelings and believe whoever screams the loudest rather than whoever has the proof.
Do you feel that you did anything that you would change? Do you feel any part responsible?
God, that's a great question. Man, that's such a good question. Wow, what a good question. Can I have a second to think about it?
Sure.
Okay. Oh my gosh, that's such a good question. What would I do differently? Oh man. I know what I do. I would not involve her family when she's having mental episodes and is schizophrenic and is off her meds. I would never have texted them.
We've seen you dressed as Spider-Man in videos.
Okay, let me just wait, hold on. I'm not Spider-Man. I can neither confirm nor deny.
To me, it says Spider-Man as the person who's texting me. So we've seen you in videos dressed as Spider-Man. We know there's a Spider-Man character in the back of your house somewhere. Her family wonders if you have identity issues and this need to align with superheroes. What's your reaction? And what's the reason for the Spider-Man?
Well, first of all, I can neither confirm nor deny that I've ever put on a Spider-Man costume. But you'll never see me in the same room with Spider-Man, I will say that. And I don't know. People say stuff. Me and Micah would go to...
So you don't get in the Spider-Man costume? Yeah. I mean, you just sent me a picture with you and Spider-Man.
Me and Micah, we go to Comic-Cons every year. We both dress up. Micah dressed up more than I did, actually. There are times I didn't dress up and she did. We love that kind of stuff. She was Wonder Woman, she was Spider-Woman, she was Mystique, she was a lot of different characters.
So you're not even going to grant that there's something odd here?
No, I'm not. No. I put on the Spider-Man costume. I go see handicapped children. I'll go visit kids that, love comic books and that are handicapped, and I'll pretend like I'm Spider-Man, and I'll take them a comic book and do videos with them and stuff like that.
One of the videos that has surfaced recently is from years ago, and I'm sure you know what it is. You're sitting face down on the ground and you're freaking out, and you're talking about, you're literally squealing about being eaten by ants, taking the wrong meds, that you missed your family.
Is your medication something they gave you?
I mean, for viewers, for people watching it, the common thought is, what is going on here, and do you have a drug problem?
No, so I fell out of a tree, a giant magnolia tree. It was like 300 years old. I broke 12 bones. It was 10 to 12 bones. I don't know if you count fingers. Yeah, it is count fingers. Anyway, I have all this metal in my body, and I'd never taken pain meds in my life, and I just had my body cast taken off, and so I took a little bit too much pain meds that day.
That's it?
That's
just
it.
What? Percocet?
I don't remember any of them. It was 2016, and it was like 10 years ago, 8 years ago, whatever, and I was missing my family. My wife, Micah, and I, we started through an affair, and so we were both married to people, and then we got divorced, and I was missing my family because I'd lost my family at the time, and I was on pain meds, and it just all went together. I fell out of a tree, broke a bunch of bones, took too many pain meds. That was that story.
Not hallucinogenics.
No. What would hallucinogenic be?
Make you hallucinate.
Well, what makes you hallucinate?
Drugs.
Like illegal drugs?
Hallucinogenic drugs, yeah.
Oh, I've never done a legal drug my whole life.
Okay.
Well, oh crap, that was a lie. I'm sorry, that was a lie. When I was 16 years old, one time I was in a truck with two of my friends, and they were both smoking pot. I didn't smoke any, but they do a thing called hot box, and so I got some of that. And then I tried steroids one time.
So there you have it. Next week, we'll be back. We've only got a couple of episodes left in this series. And next week, we're going to be talking about Micah's Law, which was sought by the family of Micah Miller, and so much more. So get ready for that. Please check us out on Patreon. Look, my celebrities are the best fans on earth, period, bar none. They are the reason this show exists. I have to have them to even produce this show. It's just too expensive, y'all, to do without the support of these people. Please consider supporting. You can do so for as little as $2.50 a week, and you get commercial-free early releases. Other tier levels also include bonus episodes. They include quarterly merch for our top tier, all kinds of things, including files. Please check us out. Patreon.com/exposed podcast files. And until next time, for Exposed Scandalous Files of the Elite, I'm your host, Jim Chapman. Much love.
How to have fun anytime, anywhere. Step 1. Go to ChumbaCasino.com.
ChumbaCasino.com. Got it.
Step 2. Collect your welcome bonus.
Come to Papa welcome bonus.
Step 3. Play hundreds of casino-style games for free.
That's a lot of games. All for free?
Step 4. Unleash your excitement.
Chumba Casino has been delivering thrills for over a decade. So claim your free welcome bonus now and live the Chumba life. Visit ChumbaCasino.com.